Welcome. We're here this morning to talk about finding a divorce lawyer when you're going through the process of preparing for separation and divorce. My name's Eileen Stoner, and I'm the leader of the Second Saturday Workshop for Women. Second Saturday started over 30 years ago as a resource for women, and their goal is to equip women with information about the financial, legal, and emotional aspects of divorce so that they can be better prepared and hopefully make the best decisions for themselves and their families. And I'm joined here this morning by Amy Lowe.
Thank you.
Good morning, Amy. Amy is a certified divorce financial analyst, and that is a unique designation, a specialty, if you will, that I think probably, Amy, some people are unfamiliar with it.
I think quite a few people are unfamiliar with it. As we talk with more and more people, it's not a designation that is widely known, but is so important and can really be a valuable resource for those going through separation and divorce. It allows us to come alongside your team of people, your attorneys, your CPAs, your counselors, and help understand the financial implications of divorce and separation.
So to become a certified divorce financial analyst, there's a special educational program, there is certification testing, and I think also, Amy, an ongoing continuing education element.
Correct.
To stay current and up to date with what is most timely in terms of serving divorce clients. So last week, Amy, when we talked, we discussed the question as to, who should think about hiring an attorney when they're going through divorce. And we talked about some situations are very simple and straightforward, and others are more complex. And basically came away with the understanding that as each woman inspects her own divorce circumstances, the more elements of complexity that she sees in her situation, the more likely she's going to want to reach out and get some legal help.
Well, and to your point, divorce can be a complete gut punch. And so really trying to go it alone, even if it is an amicable situation, sometimes it's just better to hire a professional in that case. And having that advocate on your side, I think, is beneficial.
Yeah, people worry about the cost, understandably, but divorce can be one of the biggest financial transactions that a couple is ever involved in. So I thought this morning we'd talk about hiring an attorney. So let's start with maybe a few fundamentals. The area of practice where lawyers who serve clients who are going through divorce is called family law. Now, family law includes divorce and child support and adoption, paternity, but it can also include things like mediation and estate planning. And so one of my first questions when I speak to a lawyer about their practice and their divorce practice in particular is I want to know what percentage of their work involves divorce and those kind of matters. And there's nothing wrong with an attorney who decides their practice maybe will be a third estate planning and a third divorce and maybe a third handling DUI or some other element. But that's important to me to know that someone really spends the majority of their professional time practicing.
Diving deep in the divorce space, because that's what you need. You need an expert in that field. And also with the estate planning side, that comes along with it, because there are a lot of changes that need to be made, and they need to be knowledgeable and able to help you go through changing beneficiaries and things like that.
So that would be suggestion one, is ask the attorney, what percentage of your practice is dedicated to divorce.
Another thing I think about is, what qualities are you looking for in an attorney? Because it's not one size fits all. You may be looking for someone that is a real go-getter, a real, forward-looking and thinking of all of the possibilities and just, for lack of a better word, a shark in the courtroom. Or you may be a little bit more where you need support and understanding and kind of the softer side of things. So really the qualities that you're looking for that will benefit you in understanding the process and going through all of the necessary steps is an important thing.
What would you suggest is the best way to kind of get a feel for that, what you just described?
I think it's really important to interview. You need to meet with a few different lawyers. And then also, do you have a referral source, or are you going to the local bar association to find this attorney? And if so, it's really important to meet with. I know times right now are a little bit odd, so it's hard to meet in person, but if you can speak on the phone, you can get a feel for, do you connect? Or maybe that's not the perfect fit and move on to someone else.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and that's a critical point to understand. Is you want to make sure you find someone really that you feel like you click with.
Right.
They're not your counselor. There are better resources for help in working through emotions and grief and loss and all those things that come along with divorce. It's kind of expensive to tell a lawyer your troubles. That's best reserved for another supportive relationship. But I absolutely do agree. You want to talk and get a feel for, am I comfortable with this person, and is he or she a good fit?
And do I understand what they're saying?
Yeah.
And to your point too about cost, another point would be, what is their retainer? What do they require on their end from you to, to represent them?
Yeah.
And that's important because it does differ.
Yeah, and that's a big fear a lot of people have, is they maybe have expectations of what it might cost, and we want to make sure you really do understand how pricing works. Another thing that I think is beneficial would be to understand that in the realm of law, there are attorneys who they're board certified family law specialists. Board certified family law specialists. Now, we're in North Carolina, so of course we come under the North Carolina bar and the rules and statutes that exist in North Carolina, but a board certified family law specialist is someone who practices significantly in that one area of specialty. They also have typically 5 years, again in North Carolina, 5 years of experience in this specialty of family law. They undergo additional educational elements. They pass a certification exam. They actually work in a bit of a peered review setting, where other certified family lawyers are peer reviewing their work. And then, as we mentioned earlier with Amy and her designation, they regularly and repeatedly participate in ongoing divorce-related continuing education. And so that's something also I think worth kind of just being aware of as you shop around for a lawyer.
Right. Another thing as you're interviewing that you can ask for is the statement of client rights and responsibilities. This will give you an expectation of what the attorney is looking for from you, as well as kind of give you guidelines on what to expect from the attorney, what their timelines are, what their fees are for different types of services. And it really does kind of define the client-attorney relationship.
How they'll communicate with you, right? And how a document exchange will take place and what you can expect of them. And that's a good thing. Well, oftentimes when I speak with clients who are either in the midst of a divorce or are after the fact, they don't speak favorably of the lawyer and that experience. And I think in part it's because, really this is a difficult season of life to go through.
Right.
And it's hard to be happy with people involved in the process. But two, I think having accurate expectation, mission critical.
Very important.
Amy, you mentioned a few resources. Sometimes counselors can be great resources for lawyers. Sometimes financial professionals can be great resources. I am a chartered retirement planning specialist, and so I tend to work with folks who are 50 and older and have a good bit of expertise in things related to retirement, not just investing, but also things like legacy planning and Medicare and Social Security. And we know of lawyers who work in the divorce space. When I make a referral, I'll typically share 3 names. And Amy, you brought up a great point. I'll think in exactly that same framework that you described as I think about what this client is sharing with me and what their personality is and how they like to approach problem solving. And I'm thinking about all those attorneys, right, who are probably
and their qualities, right,
who are going to click. So that can be a great resource. Did I say counselors?
You did, and I think too, you know, all of your network of people, you know, you may know people that have gone through divorce that absolutely loved their attorney, and that could be a referral source. Also in your church or your social networks, you might find people that you can look to for referral sources. But again, too, your local communities and the local bar association will give you a list of names, but I think sometimes, especially in that case, you do need to at least spend some time talking with, if you can meet in person, and get to know, do you click? And do you understand the words that are coming? Because there is a lot of legal jargon, there's a lot of words that are thrown out there that you may not understand. And if you can't understand from the very beginning, it may not be the best path to go down.
Yeah. And so we talked about that, you know, meeting, that sort of discovery meeting with the attorney. So we are a little bit more creative now because of the pandemic. And so we're seeing a lot of attorneys do their work online. When when I bring attorneys in to speak for our second Saturday divorce workshop for women, we are doing 1 session each month in person, live. We're socially distant, but we're doing it live. But then we're doing a second session through Zoom. And so, you know, if you're not working with Zoom or Skype or even FaceTime, you might want to get a little familiar with that, because that may be a way that you'll have your early conversation with an attorney. And I know that some attorneys are willing to do a little kind of, again, a discovery conversation without cost. So certainly I would ask for that. You know, could we have a quick conversation so I can share a little bit about my situation and you can explain your philosophy to me, how you like to approach a case.
That's a great idea.
So that would be a good thing to ask. You know, tell me how you approach a case. Like Amy said, some attorneys are more in step with those really difficult cases where there's tons of conflict and lots of complexity, a shark. But then, you know, at the end of the day, do we really want to drag this in front of a judge who's a stranger and let a stranger decide your future life? If we can avoid it, we would really rather come to negotiated agreements and mediation. And I think oftentimes that's good to know. Does an attorney seek to try to bring you through this with the least amount of conflict and is trying to stay out of court? So that's something else that's worthy of asking about.
Right. Well, I think this has been helpful to understand a little bit of what you can go through when hiring an attorney. Thank you for having me today, Eileen.
My pleasure. Talk to you all soon.